the world did not expect this thunder. Ghana, once whispered of as a silent giant, chained to foreign miners, suddenly spoke. A decree, sharp as a sword, was issued: all foreign hands must leave the gold mine. No negotiation. No concession. No delay. April 30, 2025 became the deadline, echoing like the countdown to liberation. This was more than policy. This was a revolt against a shadowy empire. For decades, Ghana's veins had flowed with gold, but its people had thirsted at dry wells. Now the spell was broken. Traoré's footsteps in Burkina Faso echoed in Accra, and Ghana responded with its own defiance. Can you feel the tremor? If you believe that sovereignty is worth more than stolen gold, stop, like, comment, and subscribe, because this is only the beginning. We are not banning trade. We are banning theft, declared a senior Ghanaian official, as the government set April 30, 2025, as a non-negotiable deadline for all foreign traders to withdraw from small-scale gold mining. The figure shocked the world: $2.3 billion, that's how much Ghana loses each year as gold is smuggled, disappearing from the national books and flowing into the pockets of invisible people. From manipulated mining towns, foreigners have built mini-colonies where locals are forced to sell gold below its true value. But now, that black curtain is being torn away. Ghana no longer accepts it. And that story, when viewed in the light of Burkina Faso's fire, becomes even more intense. There are numbers that seem soulless, but when viewed, we see blood and tears. $2.3 billion every year flows out of Ghana like a river of stolen gold. Behind those numbers are not just secret offshore accounts, but classrooms without desks and chairs, hospitals without enough medicine, children in the mines drinking murky water. Gold shines brightly in the eyes of foreigners, but darkens the lives of Ghanaians. The small-scale gold mining industry, the lifeblood of millions, has been turned into a shadow empire by foreigners. The aliens do not bring technology, do not bring justice, but build their own fortresses in the heart of Ghana. They hire foreign security personnel, they set prices below market, they plant underground relationships to bypass customs and police. In the light, it is commerce. But in the dark, it is a gunless invasion. Ghanaians are not blind. They saw the convoys of gold trucks leaving the mining villages at night, heading for airports where the cargo disappeared without a trace. They heard stories of bribery, of backdoors to circumvent the law. They witnessed local authorities sometimes silent, or forced to be silent, in the face of the tyranny of foreign traders. And above all, they felt a profound disrespect: their land was being mined, their gold was being stolen, and they themselves were being treated with contempt and low wages. The resentment built up over the years. One miner once exclaimed, "We are the owners of the land, but we are the laborers on it." It was not just a personal cry, but the echo of a people who had long suffered being spectators in their own golden land. When Ghana announced the new policy, the world was shocked. Because it was not just an executive order. It was a manifesto. It sent a message that the era of manipulation was over. Behind that decision was the pent-up sighs of millions, the resentment of exploited mining communities, and the burning desire of a people to reclaim what was theirs. In that moment, one could not help but think of Ibrahim Traoré in Burkina Faso. The same African land, the same resources drained by foreigners, the same poor towns next to rich mines. But then, Traoré fanned an unusual flame. He not only declared the expulsion of the French army, but also built a new dream: a Burkina Faso gold refinery, gold no longer having to go through Paris to be valued. When Traoré's footsteps rang out, it became a drumbeat for the whole continent. And now, Ghana has answered that drumbeat. If Burkina Faso was once considered a small state that dared to challenge, Ghana, the second largest economy in West Africa, has now turned the challenge into a stronger wave. Two countries, two currents, but converging on one point: non-negotiable sovereignty. But every uprising has a price. No one believes that foreigners, those who have made billions of dollars from Ghana's gold, will quietly withdraw. Behind the gold trading groups are banking networks, international politicians, and those who control the media. The day Ghana issued the decree, other chessboards began to be laid. Some say Ghana is taking risks. Some threaten that Ghana will be isolated, that investment will flee, that its currency will lose value. Some spread rumors that Ghana is incapable of managing gold without foreign experience. All these voices, seemingly different, echo a familiar refrain: Africans cannot control their own destiny. But the question is, who wrote that refrain? And why do Ghanaians continue to sing it? The story of Ghana today is not just about gold. It is about freedom at stake, about the value of sovereignty in a globalized world. Gold is just a symbol, but behind it lies a larger question: will Africa continue to sell off its resources and buy back poverty? Looking back at history, we see many times that African nations have risen, only to be extinguished by external forces or internal betrayals. But this time, the signal from Accra is different. It resonates against the backdrop of Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger breaking old chains. It extends the pulse that is spreading across the continent: no more working for hire on your own land. Ghana has staked its faith in a new future. But that future is not just about taxes collected, or more school projects built. That future is about dignity restored, about a generation of Ghanaians who can hold their heads high and say, "This is our gold. And we decide what it is worth." However, behind the banner of sovereignty, the storm is brewing. Foreign powers are not retreating, but calculating. International gold corporations are not giving up, but preparing for a soft but vicious counterattack. And history teaches, the enemies of freedom never sleep. Ghana has entered its own battlefield. The question is no longer, will they dare? But, will they be able to withstand the storm? And in that question, the figure of Traoré and his steps against foreign aggression in the Sahel become a source of inspiration and a warning. There are moments in history when two fires in two distant lands suddenly meet, and the whole continent's sky lights up. When Burkina Faso built its first gold refinery, the world thought it was just a lonely thunder. But then, Ghana, the great economy, the gateway to West Africa, suddenly beat the drum: foreigners should leave the gold mines before April 30, 2025. Those two echoes, one from Ouagadougou, one from Accra, merged like two drumbeats of the same triumphant song. In this moment, it is no longer a separate story. It is a resonance. It is the formation of a new symphony, a symphony about sovereignty, about human dignity, about the end of centuries of exploitation. The outside world is afraid. International gold corporations meet in secret. Urgent reports are sent from embassies. Major media outlets are reporting in a skeptical tone: can Ghana manage its gold without international supervision? These questions seem neutral, but behind them is the concern of foreigners: once Ghana succeeds, who will believe in their necessity on the African land? People start to compare. Burkina Faso, a small but defiant country. Ghana, a resource-rich country with much greater economic influence. If these two countries walk on the same path, will Nigeria remain silent? Will Côte d'Ivoire remain on the sidelines? Will Sierra Leone, Guinea, Liberia still accept the situation of selling off their resources? The question that reverberates over and over again is this the beginning of a continent-wide economic uprising? Ghanaians are used to foreigners setting up mini-colonies in the heart of their mining towns. They are used to selling their gold at rock-bottom prices, while foreign bosses drive luxury cars, live in mansions, and laugh loudly in the red dust of the land. But when the government announced a total ban on direct gold purchases by foreign traders, a new lease of life was born. For the first time, "I feel like the country is on our side," whispered a miner in Tarkwa. "If $2.3 billion stops disappearing every year, maybe our students will have books," said a rural teacher. These words do not make the headlines, but they are living proof that Ghana's decision is more than just a number, it is the breath of a nation. The Ghanaian government, through its new agency, Gold Board, has made it clear that all gold transactions must be transparent, taxable, and traceable. There is no room for shady deals. The message is clear: whoever wants Ghanaian gold must follow Ghanaian laws. If you believe this is not just a national issue, but a collective step for Africa, leave your thoughts in the comments. Share this story, so the world knows that Africans are no longer spectators, but are rewriting their own script. However, bold policies always come with challenges. Foreign powers have not yet withdrawn. They have begun to use their financial power. International banks have delayed credit to Ghana. Debt rating agencies have issued risk warnings. Western media have written articles about the risk of instability, sowing fear in investors. There are secret reports revealing that some gold mining corporations are negotiating with secret officials to maintain a backdoor. The big question hanging in the air is, will Ghana maintain discipline, or will it fall back into the old spiral of corruption? Meanwhile, invisible hands have begun to stir up discontent within Ghana, raising commodity prices, spreading false news about an impending collapse, creating a sense of panic. Because foreign powers know well, a policy does not need to be broken by force, it only needs to sow doubt in the hearts of the people. In Ouagadougou, Ibrahim Traoré faced long nights of assassination attempts and threats of overthrow. But he stood firm. He transformed Burkina Faso from a symbol of dependence to the image of a nation that dares to raise its head. Ghana is now following that path, but on a larger scale and with greater influence. If Burkina Faso is a small fire burning in the desert, then Ghana is a strong wind that can fan the flames across West Africa. And because of that, the pressure Ghana faces is much more terrible. In informal conversations, people began to call Ghana's decision Traoré's footsteps on Ghanaian soil. It was not just a comparison, but an affirmation. A wave had begun, and it would not stop. This story, on the surface, revolves around gold. But in reality, it revolves around a larger issue: dignity. When a people are forced to sell off their resources, what is lost is not just money, but also the belief that they can shape their own destiny. When Ghana stood up, it was an affirmation that self-determination is not a gift, but an inherent right. Human history has seen empires collapse not because of outright war, but because the ruled lands suddenly decided to say no. When Ghana said no to foreigners, it touched not only the gold market, but also the lifeblood of an order that had existed for decades. In the coming months, the world will be watching Accra. Will the Ghanaian government keep its promise? Will the foreigners accept to withdraw? Or will a new confrontation erupt? In that tumultuous moment, the people of Ghana, Burkina Faso, and West Africa understood one thing: this was no longer the story of one country, but the test of the entire continent in the fire of sovereignty. And like every epic, the further we go, the more violent the storms become. But it is in these storms that dignity and will are tested. The question is no longer, can Ghana really do it? The question now is, who will be challenged next? As Accra roared, those accustomed to sitting on the throne of African resources were stunned. It was not just gold. This was a message beyond minerals. It was a declaration of war against the entire system that had drained the blood of Africa for centuries. In the dark, international corporations, from Europe to Asia, trembled and calculated. They were accustomed to seeing Ghana as a raw material market, where gold flows out of the mines only to return a small portion to their coffers. But Ghana now stood up, with uncompromising determination. Leave, or stay in justice, the government declared coldly and firmly. This wave could no longer be stopped. Ghanaians took to the streets. Not with violence, but with spirit. They chanted, "The motherland is not for sale. The gold belongs to our children." In the eyes of the poor miners, who had been hunched over in the dark tunnels day after day, a glimmer of pride now shone. Western embassies were confused. The international media was in a frenzy. Is Ghana isolating itself? They asked. But that was the question of those who were used to seeing Africa on its knees. To Ghana, to Burkina Faso, to Niger, to Mali, the right question should be, who is really isolating themselves from the continent? In Accra's central square, speeches were pounding like war drums. No more bowing. No more selling the blood of our people. A young MP shouted into the microphone, his voice lost in the cheers. The whole crowd was ablaze with flags. In that moment, one sees the image of Ibrahim Traoré, the young captain in Ouagadougou who once forced the French army to leave in the night. The invisible thread connecting Ghana and Burkina Faso has now become a lightning current. Ghana is no longer alone. Its determination is not a solitary lamp, but a torch that is lighting the fuel of aspirations across Africa. In Bamako, in Niamey, in Conakry, the news from Accra is discussed in tea houses, on the streets, in closed-door conferences. People whisper, if Ghana can do it, what about us? The international mining corporations, once confident of their invincibility, are now pulling back. Some are negotiating in secret, others are threatening litigation. But more importantly, the mood has reversed. Ghana is now the one in control. No more unequal clauses are imposed. No more thick contracts written in Paris, London, or Washington and then forced on Accra. Now Ghana is in charge. And when Ghana is in charge, the whole continent watches. The Ashanti farmer, the Tarkwa miner, the Accra youth, all are talking together. No longer are they saying, "This is just the government's decision." They are saying, "This is our decision." The strength of a nation lies not in guns and bullets, but in consensus, in unbreakable aspirations. And this time, Ghana has tapped into that source. Of course, those who are losing out cannot sit still. Western editorials began to use a sarcastic tone. Ghana risks economic stability, immaturity in resource policy, chaos at risk. But these words revealed their true nature. They never cared about the Ghanaian people, they only cared about the profit stream. In the dark, urgent phone calls were made, sanctions were drafted. But Ghana had anticipated. They learned from Burkina Faso, from Niger, from Mali, the price of freedom is always confrontation. Picture an April evening. The Accra sky was red with torches. Tens of thousands of people gathered, singing. In their songs, the soul of Africa echoed. The elders mentioned Kwame Nkrumah, the father of independence, who dreamed of a united Africa. Now that dream was alive again, in a concrete form, taking back the gold, taking back the land, taking back ourselves. It is not just a battle for resources. It is a battle for dignity. And when dignity is called, no force can extinguish it. But, while the people are fired up, while Africa cheers in unison, shadows are beginning to move. Someone within Ghana is wavering. Some interest groups, who have long benefited from the old world, are not giving up easily. They whisper to each other, "We will lose everything if this policy succeeds." They seek to sabotage. They seek to block the way. And amid the cheers of the masses, a small crack has begun to form. History has never been a bed of roses for those who dare to challenge the empire. Just when Ghana seemed to be standing at the pinnacle of its will, an undercurrent has begun to form. On May 1st, when the expulsion decree officially entered the implementation phase, shocking news came, the cedi plummeted, the Ghanaian stock market shook, and a series of international investors withdrew their capital. The West did not need to make a public announcement. With just one push of a button in the global financial system, Ghana was in turmoil. This was the familiar wind blow, no army needed, just money. In the midst of the chaos, some Ghanaian politicians began to change their tune. Those who had applauded the expulsion of foreigners policy now quietly whispered, "Perhaps we have gone too far." Some ministers even openly criticized, saying that it is better to accept losing a portion of gold than to lose the entire economy. And at that moment, the naked truth was revealed, not all those wearing the national coat of arms were truly on the side of the people. In the dark, the foreign hand had already reached in, bribed, and promised personal benefits. The war that Ghana faces is northwest longer just taking place in the gold mines, but in the media, in the banks, in the corridors of parliament. Pessimistic headlines abound. Ghana collapses, a historic mistake. International television channels repeatedly show images of people protesting against rising prices, while cleverly hiding the marches in support of sovereignty. It is an invisible war, the war that Burkina Faso, Mali, Niger have experienced, attacks by images, by public opinion, by the economy. And now, Ghana has become the new battlefield. In that turmoil, many people wonder, can Ghana survive? Is this a wrong move? But history is always cruel, only those who dare to face pain can reach freedom. The dark nights in Accra without electricity. The inflationary flea markets, the families worrying about meals, all seem like failures. But from another angle, it was the fire of challenge. Is Ghana's will strong enough to overcome? Or will it be broken by sweet promises from foreign countries? Another shock came. A leaked confidential report showed that a group of Ghanaian parliamentarians had secretly met with representatives of a European mining corporation, discussing extending the time. The news fell like a knife straight into the hearts of the people. Someone in the leadership had chosen personal interests over the oath to the motherland. Betrayal always comes from within. And it is that which is more dangerous than any enemy outside. Ghana now stands at a fateful crossroads, either steadfastly move forward, bearing the financial and political storm to keep the gold for its descendants, or step back, reopening the door for others to come in and suck the blood of the land. In those suffocating moments, the people are the decisive factor. If they fall, the government will collapse. But if they unite, no force can crush them. History has turned the wheel, putting Ghana at its most dangerous bend. This is no longer just a matter of expelling foreigners. This is the ultimate test. Does a nation have the courage to maintain its dignity even in the face of betrayal and crisis? The night may be thick, but it has never blocked the dawn. Ghana today is walking on a bumpy road, where every step forward is a wound, but also a vow. Foreign powers can stifle us with money. They can sow division through the media, they can even bribe our leaders. But there is one thing they can never buy: the will of the people. From Accra to Kumasi, from the burning mines to the green fields, Ghanaians understand that gold is more than just a metal. Gold is the memory of our ancestors, the sweat of our miners, the faith of our future generations. To lose it is to lose our soul. And so the epic drum beats, stand up or fall. But Ghana will not kneel. It is a message to the world, and a fire for all of Africa. Sovereignty is never asked for, sovereignty can only be reclaimed. If that spirit touches your heart, please like, comment, and subscribe. Let us become the flame that continues, so that Ghana's oath will not be extinguished, so that the drum of freedom will forever resound across this continent.